This is Attorney Mike Grevin coming to you from beautiful Prague in the Czech Republic, or Czechia. But I'm going to go Czech Republic because that's what I'm told. Thanks again to Pavel for giving me the grand tour. I kind of knew this would happen, but that degenerated into a pub crawl. It turned ugly. But it was a lot of fun. We actually had lunch today too, so I've had a great time running around Prague. But I also have to thank Rocky Lennon, who hooked me up. The Bondsmen are going wild out in Kansas, and I've got 2 different clips from her. I've got 3 clips from her, all from Rocky, which is saving me right now. But they're good, and I think they're follow-ups. I think both clips are follow-ups to cases that I've previously done, but I don't have those links. I'm not that together. I'm not that together. There was beer. There may have been absinthe. Perhaps a little mead. I don't know. There was stuff. Let's get this party started, shall we?
Could you raise your right hand? Do you swear?
I don't swear, but I am firm.
Okay. Well, I'm putting you under oath. I want you to affirm to me that you will. I'm not swearing in the sense that inappropriate language.
Yes.
Okay. I'm asking you to state or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Is that fair to say?
Yes, absolutely.
Defendant fails to appear. The defendant last hearing was a forfeiture on bond, July 12th, and that was 2024, and that was granted. This is the case where the defendant and his girlfriend are from the state of Washington, and he harvests salmon or something of the sort up there, and gave us his assurance he'd be back, but he didn't
I remember this case. I don't know where it is, but I did this.
come back. And now we are here today because the bondsman has filed a motion to reconsider that judgment for July. And he has filed a written motion. Sir, do you want to state your name and proceed on your motion?
Yes, this is Tyson Case with Case Bail Bonds. Now if you recall, Mr. Solomon, you gave us until I believe it was a September date. We hired a out-of-state bounty hunter because I was going to go out there, but we were told by local officials that we were not allowed to bounty hunt out there. Washington State has a very strict bail reform laws, so we hired a bounty hunter. I had him in custody.
Okay, hang on. They will let you use their bounty hunter, but they won't let the Kansas one come in and do it?
Correct.
Okay, go ahead.
So we hired, and you gave us extra time, which we really appreciate. And I know how much of a stickler you are on this from dealing with you multiple times, Your Honor. So I did expedited, got him arrested. He was in custody. He is in custody still. And let me pull it up. It's on VineLink right now. He's been in custody since August 27th at 10:07 a.m. in Snohomish County Jail in Everett, Washington. So our deal was, so I got him in custody, and we've been navigating with your courts to get your process, because it's a little bit different than ours, and I'm learning your process more and more every time. So what we did, was they were about to release him because of they wouldn't put your guys' hold on him. That was the same.
Now we have, as I understand it, a felony warrant in NCIC, right, Ms. Gillette?
Yeah.
We
You say we do?
do.
Right, so I don't understand why another state wouldn't recognize that. Do you have any idea why they were gonna release him?
Well, because Washington State has kind of adopted the New York principle with bonding. Just kind
Which is
of
what? I don't know what that is.
it's a bail reform deal where pretty much in them states you can almost do anything and get released. It's wild. It's just a Wild West type of operation. So what we did was so he was arrested there prior to this, but your warrant would not. They would not hold him on your warrant, so they released him. So
Excuse me again, I'm sorry to keep interrupting, but I want to make sure I understand everything you're telling me. What did they arrest him for in Washington?
I'm not really sure. It was a possession charge, and that's why
They don't care about
given
marijuana
us-
up there, do
because-
they? They don't file a.
No, it was harder. Yeah,
Okay, so some kind of felony possession.
like a
under
meth
their
charge.
name.
Correct.
Okay,
And you guys, I let you guys know that he was in custody prior to that, but they would not recognize your warrant and put a hold on him. They tried. So, but my so he was booked in.
sir,
I'm sorry.
sir,
looking
I'm
at my
starting
screen
to
here.
lose your
He was-
volume. Is there any way you could project a little louder?
Yes. So they were going to release him there again, just like they did the last time. Luckily, we were able to get in contact with your court, and somebody over there was able to send the warrant to this county. And it shows right here that on 8/28, a day later, that Greenwood County GW 24 CR 58 has been added to his list of charges there. So that was on August 28th. Now, when we had that added, when one of my agents spoke with the court, he had to be back and forth with, I don't know who it was because I was not there, but that was in order to get that hold placed so that he would not get released. And we were under the impression that since we had our hold placed and everything had been done on our end, like we had agreed upon within the amount of time, that was going to get taken off of the docket like you guys have done before. And now I guess we had received information that were due to pay it on this last hearing. I believe it was last week. That's why I filed a motion and wanted to come personally in front of you, because I've dealt with you so many times, and anything that you've ever asked of me, I've made sure I've gotten done, and I just don't think it's fair for a misunderstanding, especially with all the loopholes and all the different crap we had to, excuse my language, all the stuff we had to jump through to even get
Jill Gillette is biting her lip through all of this.
this other county to even hold him on a felony warrant, And it was an honest mistake. And if it was dropped somewhere, it wasn't anything intentional, because we would never disrespect your court ever. And that's why we're here today, is because I want to bring this to you personally, because, you granted me 2 months instead of 30 days, because we knew he was on a boat. It was a wild area, just all the circumstances, you know what I'm saying? So that's why we're here today. It's just to hopefully you could reconsider that, because I try to please you and I want to keep you happy.
Okay. Well, before I address Miss Gillette, how did it come out with the girlfriend? I think you were going to try to do out there and catch them both.
Yeah. So hers, she actually got on, she went to court. She got on
She
Zoom.
showed up. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Miss Gillette, your response to this motion to reconsider and set aside the judgment?
Your Honor, we've had lots of issues with this matter and getting this individual back here. The reason that there's a bondman and a cash surety bond is they take a chance on a person if they bond them out. And in this matter, the defendant failed to appear May 10th of 2024. There was a bench warrant and bond forfeiture, and a new bond was issued. He was arrested in Washington State, and they never notified anyone, and they let him out, and they did not serve our warrant at that time. That was in June. July 12th was the bond forfeiture bench warrant date. to have them have judgment on the bond for the bondsmen. The defendant failed to appear, and there was again a no bond put on him, and he is being held. And we gave additional time from July 12th to September 13th for the defendant to be brought to Kansas and be brought before the court. On September 13th of 24, the defendant again failed to appear and did not collect his notice at the address that he gave, and the bondsmen failed to appear. Judgment was granted, and it was made a cost of the case. On September 27th of 2024, the bondsmen called my office. My staff spoke with them and he said that Webster knows him. He always zooms in. Well, he didn't zoom in on 9/13. He had received notification about the hearing. He told my staff it was an honest mistake at that time. Since then, the defendant has been located in Washington, but it's after the judgment has already been made, September 13th of 24. I don't have a defendant. I don't have the opportunity right now to extradite him or the notifications that he needs to be extradited. This is the first I've heard that there's even a hold on him. And so at this point, judgment was already granted September 13th. It was made a cost of the case. The bench warrant still stands. I want it paid. He's going to have to be transported back from Washington. And the transport I had from Washington the other day was $3,900 and some dollars. Judge Ricky just issued it yesterday as restitution on a case. And $3,900 to bring that individual back to Kansas. I'm estimating it's going to be a similar amount to bring this individual back to Kansas. It's already been granted. At the time that the person was supposed to be produced, they weren't. And that is the risk that the bondsmen take when they sign on a bond, that they're going to be responsible for somebody, keep track of them and make sure they're here in court.
Can I speak? Or is...
Yes, please, go ahead.
Okay, so unfortunately, I have had him in custody since August 27th, Your Honor. That's well before the forfeiture date. Also, in order to get that hold placed on him, which I have on the computer here, it says I had to call you guys in order to get that hold placed because, unfortunately, like I said, it's such a stressful, illegal. It's illegal for me to go there to apprehend somebody. That's kidnapping. I'll go to jail for that. So you gave me the ample opportunity and time. I already spent X amount of dollars to hire somebody out to go out there and get him. And, we do this all on our own. We had him well before the forfeiture hearing. And so that's where the misunderstanding is because our forfeiture hearing was in July. You gave us until the 13th of September, and we had him in August. So,
sir, why didn't you show up at that hearing in September on the 13th?
Because when we had the court called to have it, so you know how when somebody gets put in custody, just like Dylan Philmeyer, okay? I'll just go back to the Philmeyer case. When he was in custody, it was removed from the docket once we had called the court and spoke with the court. So this was spoken with the court, and we had the hold placed on him. And we were under the impression that, okay, now the hold's placed on him. It's removed from the docket. That's the only reason why I wasn't there. I show up to most of your hearings just to make sure I'm not missing something. So it was not an intentional, that's the last thing I want to do after I spent almost $6,000 hiring a bounty hunter who wanted, I think 30% to do it. And he was the only option I had out there. I mean, I exhausted all my resources and everything I could to get this done in time. And I also had Bailey on Zoom to make sure that she made her court date instead of missing,
Is that the girlfriend, Bailey?
Yeah, that's the girlfriend, yes.
Well, on July 12th, 2024, we set that September 13th hearing, and I'm not aware of it ever being canceled.
Mm-mm.
But
I don't know if this bondman is aware of his own procedures, because this case bail bonds is the same one that Thomas Taylor was just logged in on.
Oh,
No,
really?
he's not in. No, he's not. Thomas Taylor was not logged in on mine. Thomas Taylor was there in person, ma'am.
Well,
Is he the same bonding company you are?
No, I don't even know Thomas Taylor. I'm in Wichita, Kansas, Your Honor.
Okay.
either way, there are procedures. There's no notice of incarceration elsewhere in the file. There's no motion. There's no appearance on September 13th. There's no request to be released. There's no notification of a hold. There's no anything filed in the court file. There's nothing granted to my office other than a call saying it's an honest mistake. And in that call, there wasn't even a notification of incarceration. And you know, I let it slide a lot. There's no notices of incarceration filed in all these cases. Maybe I get meaner and not withdraw these. But when they out of state until they are in state, the bondsmen are still responsible for bringing them back. And a lot of times I change the judgment from the whole amount of the bond when someone's out of state for a judgment for the cost of retrieval and transport. And so I am still asking for the judgment. He missed the hearing date. He didn't file any of the notices. He didn't file any of the proper paperwork. He needs to go back to bondsman school and be looking this stuff up. If he's going to be in the business, he needs to know the game. I used to represent bondsmen when I was in civil private practice. I filed the notices of incarceration, the motions to be released from bonds when people were turned in, and I represented 2 different bonding companies. So I understand, but he needs to go back to school if he's going to be in the game and learn how the proper procedure goes.
Ooh.
Same as Mr. Thomas Tyler. They both need to go back, or Taylor need to go back to bondsman school and figure stuff out, because at this point,
Ms. Gillette has had enough. Y'all need to go back to school. You know what the hell you're doing.
he missed his hearing day. He didn't get a notice into us. He didn't do the right and proper things. We're sitting here still with no defendant. And this is the 4th failure to appear that the defendant out of state somewhere.
He's in custody out of state. He can't be brought. I could not retrieve him out of state. Like I said, I don't understand. Like I don't understand where this is at. But like I said, we had to contact your court in order to even get the hold placed on him. It was such a hassle. We've had him in custody twice out there and could not get the hold placed on him. Your court had to place the hold on him. I understand that you're frustrated, and I understand your stance on this.
I'm tired of doing say the same things, Judge. We don't have a defendant. He hasn't paid to have him brought back. If my sheriff has to go get him, it's going to be almost $4,000 or over.
All right. Mr. Case, do you have any idea where Washington is on their proceedings against the defendant?
I do not. I can contact them. I know that they have him held on some other stuff. It's on BindLink right now. He's still held.
Well, I have him for possession of methamphetamines, possession of cocaine, and in such a large enough amount of these drugs that he also has a felony drug dealer tax stamp charge.
See, and those are serious, and that's where I'm back to this other part of this. Okay, so I have been a bondsman for a while now, and I do know the procedures. And like I said, we are newer in your guys' area and in front of you, and your guys' procedures are a little bit different than Sedgwick County's, which I understand, and I will adapt. And I've arrested people on Zoom with you before because you've told me to. So I do everything that you ask me to. Now I understand her frustrations, but Washington would not put, when they arrested him on their own with your NCIC warrant, they would not hold him on your NCIC warrant. They released him. That's
I recall that. That's why I was confused when I was reading your motion today. The facts seemed different than what I had recalled you had told my assistant, who I believe we ended up referring you to the sheriff or the county attorney. I recall which none, but they're the
has seen anything from the bonding class, that right there is a big issue and a big problem, because he had been arrested and in custody and they would not stick him with the warrant. Okay, so it's kind of, I have not disrespected her or been disrespectful, but I would appreciate the same respect on both ends, because honestly I bend over backwards to get this
You
thing
missed-
done. I flew out there.
well,
I
and
ended-
that has been my
He's
experience with you.
Or
sir.
Judge, I'm tired of listening to him argue. We're late for another docket. He
Well, I
missed
understand, but
He
we're
does not-
talking, you know,
it here. He didn't do proper notice to the court file.
all
I-
right.
Notice to my office. If they talked to the sheriff's office, it wasn't sent on to me. And I still don't have a bond.
Okay, I understand, I understand both sides very well. We have a $12,500 bond forfeiture at issue here, and we also have a criminal case with no defendant.
Correct.
Serious drug charges
Happy
here.
birthday, Andrew.
I am not going to rule on your motion today because I want more information about what it's going to take to get this defendant back, and whether the bondsman can get him back or whether the state's going to have to get him back.
You know what, Your Honor? I can contact down there, and if I have to, I will have somebody pick him up and bring him back. I have no issues, but we have to figure out what the deal is, you know? It's a fully extraditable warrant, felony warrant. They've
Understood?
released him. Yeah, they've released
Like I
him.
said, I understand completely, Mr. Case. I believe I fully understand both sides to this. And
But a motion filed yesterday, set on my docket today, also doesn't give me enough notice because I'm entitled to 7 days.
all
do it.
right, okay. Well, I'm gonna set this over. I'm gonna
Don't notice argument me, you jerk.
set this over. How much time are you gonna need to figure out what it's gonna take to get him back here, sir?
I could have it all figured out by next Friday if that's fine. That way, that gives them, because they're kind of a screwball area to get a hold of.
Well, I'm probably gonna give you a little more than that.
Okay.
So, Missy, what looks good? We're not in too big a hurry, just. I mean,
We
if I-
could do it October 18th. I'd have half an hour at 1 o'clock.
October 18th, 1 o'clock. Is that available to both the bondsman and the state?
Yes, Your Honor. I will be wherever you need me to at whatever time.
All right. I'll hold this in abeyance until I see what's going on. Get more details. The defendant does not have an attorney, as I see it. I think he was gonna get his own.
He was supposed to hire his own attorney and never even hired an attorney, ran off to the state of Washington,
Right,
has not been back. So at this point, I already have a judgment that needs to be acted on. And a motion yesterday set for today, I didn't even have time to file a written answer with everything else on.
but I don't think paying the money in is going to get the defendant back any sooner. I want to get that defendant back here. And hold him accountable. Now, Miss Gillette, do you remember the status of the girlfriend? Did she?
Bailey Argyle,
Yes.
yeah, we're working on her case.
Has she gone through prelim? Is she in front of the district judge for arraignment?
She has gone through, we've had active plea negotiations.
So does she have a trial date setting then, a jury trial?
She's set for pretrial conference October 9th at 10:30 a.m. She
Okay,
attorney, we are working on her case, this guy.
so she's set for jury trial with the pretrial coming up quickly. All right, well, I wonder why anyway, strike that, that doesn't matter. All right, well, that's where we are. We're going to take this back up October 18th at 1 p.m. Icon, yes?
It appears he's sitting back there behind.
Yeah,
He's
he's
got-
behind.
I brought her, Your Honor.
All right, and state your name for the record, please.
Oh, we got more trouble with the bondsman. It's a different bondsman. but we still are having problems.
With a sure bail, Your Honor.
Why don't you come on up, sir? I'm not gonna be able to hear you back there.
Tom Taylor with a sure bail, Your Honor.
I still didn't hear you. You'll need to get right in front of that microphone. What's your name?
Thomas Taylor with a sure bail.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. All right, this matter, as I said, does come on for hearing on the state's motion for forfeiture of the bond due to the defendant's failure to appear. She's failed to appear a couple of times, March 29th, 2024. And
Okay, you guys tell me in the chat. I don't even know. Is this the girlfriend or is this just another case? Is this related to the last case? I know, I should know, but I don't. Rocky sent it to me. Just let me know.
August 2nd, 2024. It looks like Mr. Thomas, you do have her here today. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Gillette, how does the state wish to proceed on its motion to forfeit?
Joe, you're muted.
Since the bondsman's brought her in and turned her in, we'll withdraw the motion for forfeiture, but we'd like her taken into custody. The bond is currently set at 30,000 cash or professional surety.
Mr. Ambrose, anything you want to be heard on?
Well, Your Honor, I have not heard from Miss Bone. However, as a matter of course, we would object to her being placed into custody. I believe that based on what I'm seeing here, it looks like we need to get a preliminary hearing set on this regardless. Miss Bone might be able to provide us some insight as to where she's been and what her plans are to make sure she's going to get back to court in case the court was to provide her an alternative.
Ms. Bone, why haven't you been in front of this court since March? Now you're going to have to sit up in front of the microphone.
I had not had transportation, and the first court date that I missed was actually because I was sick. I was in the hospital. And the second time was due to the transportation, and I have not had transportation for over a month, and I do not have an active phone. It's been almost a month that I have not had an active phone. I am in the process of getting an active phone.
So you knew you had court on those 2 days, you just didn't make it in?
The second one, I didn't know what day it was, but I thought it was actually September 1st is what I thought it was. And I was going to find transportation to get there. I had asked my mom, but I was not able to. I was unaware of the day. I had put it down wrong.
Where do you live?
Your Honor.
Just a moment. Where do you live? No, ma'am, answer my question. Where do you live?
In Iola.
I'm sorry?
Iola, Kansas.
You live in Iola with your mom?
No.
On
I
your
live,
own?
yes.
How far do you live from your mom?
She lives in Chanute.
So you were able to call your mom and talk about your case, but you weren't able to call the court or your attorney.
I had used someone else's phone.
But you couldn't use someone else's phone to call the court or your attorney.
They would not let me. They ended up leaving.
Oh, they'd let you call mom, but not the court or your attorney. What's this person's name?
They were a person I ran into at the gas station. I had met them like once. All I know is her first name, but she didn't. Apparently, she wasn't staying in that town, but she.
So somebody rolled into town to the gas station, you saw them and you asked to use their phone.
Yeah, and I was like, I need to call my mom for a ride for court, and I need to call my attorney. And she was like, okay. And she let me call my mom first. Because I told her that would be the first call to do. And then she hung up the phone on my mom and then took it and walked off.
And you couldn't ask your mom to call your lawyer or the court?
I was in the process of asking her. I had started to ask her. I was like, hey, can you call my attorney, and I did not get to tell her the name before she literally jerked the phone. My mom does not know my attorney's name.
And your mom doesn't know how to call the court.
She
Okay.
didn't know which county it was either. She was confused on the county.
And you had no way of calling your bondsman,
No, I had not.
and there was not a soul in Iola that would let you use their phone, besides this woman that had come into town unknown to you.
Yeah, I had asked a couple friends the day after, but none of them had active phones.
All right.
I don't have a lot of friends.
Stop. Thank you. All right. Now if I can get the bondsman to come back up and tell me what he was wanting to say.
Once I made contact with her that the forfeiture hearing was in place, and I know I've spoken this to you before, that I tell them we can do this the easy way or the hard way. And if they stay in contact with me and till the time comes, then we will get her over here. And I didn't have to put her in handcuffs or any of that stuff. She voluntarily came today. I just wanted to make sure you knew that part of it. It wasn't a hunting her down and bringing her in, Your Honor.
She voluntarily came today, but she didn't
Stay in contact with me once I let her know they're over for that court date. And so she did.
When was that?
I couldn't tell you the exact date. It's been 30 days probably that when I got it.
This is about to get ugly. Now Judge Webster gets as mad as Jill got in the last hearing.
Like I said, I contacted her and let her know what the date was. And you know, like I said, I usually tell them if I can make contact with them and they're receptive to that, and we can get them in here and they'll walk in with them, then I'm okay with that versus having to put them in handcuffs and take them to jail. And they stayed in contact with me and actually reminded me last night of the court date today. So they were helpful that way. She was helpful that way.
She told you last night what her court date was?
Right. She reminded me. Yes. Yes, Your Honor.
Well, Mr. Taylor, what troubles me, besides the obvious defendant not appearing, is that the post office says they delivered notice to you of this hearing in Chanute, Kansas, August 19th, 2024 at 10:26 a.m. And you're just now getting her to me and in contact with you.
Yes, Your Honor.
So you don't surrender them until I don't understand why you didn't turn her in before now.
When you give us the court date that I have to present them on that day, if I can make contact with them and they're working jobs and they're trying to continue their life and do it right, and they'll follow that, I get them in here for that new court date.
Well, I see that as potentially aiding a felon, or when you know that they've got an active warrant and you don't turn them in. I have a real problem with that. And you've known since August 19th she had an active warrant, and you chose to wait until today to turn her in. So that's very troubling to me. So
not good when you're in court and the judge says, you know, that sounds like aiding and abetting to me. She's not happy.
Miss Gillette, again, at this time, you're wanting to set aside the motion to forfeit the bond?
Yes, usually when they do bring them in by the court date, agree that she should have been brought in earlier. Waiting till the last minute's not appropriate when they have an outstanding bond and warrant on them. This is her second warrant for failure to appear. It's not that hard to dial in from Zoom. If you can't Zoom from here, the bondsmen will make sure to help you. Her prior bondsman was Don Kirkman. You get a hold of your bondsman and say, hey, I don't have a way to court, or I don't have a way to Zoom. They'll get you Zoomed in. She didn't do that. In fact, she didn't contact her attorney. She hasn't been in contact with anyone. And we haven't had a current phone number or address up here at the court for her. It's important that you contact the court when we give you a hearing date and you're here and you get that hearing time. It is not hard to Zoom. Yesterday, Judge Ricky made the comment. I thank you, sir, for zooming in from Arizona when we have people that are 2 blocks from the courthouse that can't Zoom. These are Zoom hearings where she could have been on television and not had to be brought to the courthouse. At this point, I am asking her to be taken into custody on her 30,000 cash or professional surety bond. She needs to make a bond. She needs to understand her bondsman should be her best friend and they are responsible for getting her to court.
Well,
She
it
can't-
sounds like he has been. He's kept her out and kept her doing whatever it is she wanted to do for the last 2 months.
Yeah, well, he didn't on August 2nd, and her hearing wasn't in September, it was in August. And so I would ask for the bench warrant to be served, her to be taken into custody, and her to need to post a new bond.
Mr. Thomas, I'm not, or Thomas
Taylor.
Taylor.
Taylor,
Taylor.
yes, ma'am. Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Taylor, at this time, I am not going to make you pay the 15,000 because she is here today. But a word of caution, I am not in the practice of letting people tell other people, hey, you've got a warrant, but don't turn yourself in right now. You can hold this off for 2 months. That's not the way it works. You don't tell a person they have a warrant to help them stay out of jail. That's illegal. You tell people
I
they
tell
have a
them they have a
warrant.
warrant and they can turn themselves in, but I have a forfeiture date on this, and that way, Your Honor.
Sir, it is not an option when they have a warrant for them to decide when they're going to turn themselves in. It's not your position to decide how long you're going to give them before they come to court.
Behavior in this case is disgusting.
You know, we trust bondsmen, and if we can't trust the bondsmen to do what they say they're going to do, then we can't have them as bondsmen. All right, this time, I am not going to forfeit the 15,000 to make you put it up, but I am ordering that she be taken into custody. So there better be a deputy there that takes her into custody, and her new bond is set at 30,000 as previously ordered. She started out at a lower bond. She did this with Kirkman, but they, I think, got her in here a little quicker. And now she's done it with you. What's she been doing for the last 2 months, Mr. Thomas? Mr. Taylor, I'm sorry.
Taking
Know
care
what
of
she's
kids.
been up to, what she been doing?
Well, she's been in the Iola house up there with her kids, working, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
You believe?
Well, I mean, she's been making contact. I wasn't asking her everything that she did. I was making sure that she stayed in contact with me at the house.
But do you see, you're not the one she's supposed to just make
I understand.
contact with.
I understand, Your Honor.
All right, so you may go, and she needs to come back up here. You may go,
Thank you, Your Honor.
Taylor. Miss Bone, I'm ordering that you be taken into custody for your multiple failures to appear. I will let your new bond of 30,000 stand, although I'm tempted to say no bond, just hold you until we resolve this, because maybe your bondsman and you've got a relationship where he can trust that you're where you're supposed to be, but you and I don't have that relationship. So is there a deputy there to come and get her? And Miss Gillette, shall we set a new hearing? And like her attorney said, I think she skipped out last on her preliminary hearing. Do we want an evidentiary hearing, Mr. Ambrose?
I think that's probably what
Look
we
at
need to be
that.
set, especially considering she's going to be in custody.
Look at that body language from her. Oh my God. Just triple that bond. Let her
All
stay.
right.
Probably the
Preliminary-
appropriate thing
Well,
to do.
she might make her 30,000. Mr. Taylor may want to post it again. All right, Missy.
I have October 15th available at 9 or 10.
Any preference, Mr. Ambrose?
I can make 10 work. Well, sorry, can I have 1 second to check my hearing? This week's calendar hasn't been updated. We haven't updated from this week's hearings. So let me make sure I didn't schedule anything there. If I could have just a second, Your
Okay,
Honor.
Ms. Bone, who are you talking to there? I'm sorry? I can't hear you.
Talking to Thomas.
Well, I'm not sure I'm gonna trust Mr. Thomas Taylor to, I'm not sure I'm gonna trust him to make your bond again. Because he let you out for 60 days. He didn't get you here to court on time. He didn't get you here to court when he said he would. And he let you go for 60 days.
Which is number one, wrong.
Oh, you better get a different bondsman.
In Your Honor, October 15th at 10 a.m. would be preferred if that's acceptable.
That's acceptable for me. How about you, Ms. Gillette?
That's fine with the state.
All right, that'll be the order of the court. And maybe we need to review our list of bondsmen. Maybe they need to understand what their roles are as bondsmen. But this is totally unacceptable. With that said, we are in recess. Deputies, make sure you take this young lady into custody.
The wheels of justice are going to roll you right into the Wayne County Jail.
Well, there we go. We end with a nice remand. Good way to start a Sunday morning. She had it comment that body language was terrible. I actually don't think those two. I don't think those two hearings are related, but I think I've done prior videos on both of those cases. I remember the whole "I'm going fishing in Alaska" routine. That guy's picked up so many charges. I truly don't understand how that works because I've never like done stuff like this. But they keep talking about how they're going to get him into Kansas on this warrant. It sounds like he did all sorts of stuff. I don't know if Washington's going to let him go. I don't know what the priority is or how that all shakes out, but on that first one, I don't know. I don't know if that guy's leaving Washington at all. Who knows? Who knows? And the second one was that. Thank you again, Rocky Lennon. Right when I needed it. I needed a good stream, and that was fantastic. I didn't have time to look around. It's a weekend. And there it is. Good material served up on a platter. You can't beat that. You can't beat it. All right. Thank y'all for coming out. I really appreciate it. I will see you all soon. By the way, this background, that's straight from my my phone camera there. That's what we're dealing with here. It's a beautiful town. All right. I'll see you all soon.